Not a world power, not one of the world's financial centers, Qatar, a small country in the Middle East, still enrolls in the top most prosperous countries in the world. Oil and natural gas production is the major industry that has brought Qatar a wealth of life and made it a rich, modern country. While people all over the world are living with the worry over food and money, Qatari citizens are living a very leisurely life. All expenses, including learning, electricity, water, petrol, medical examination, and treatment, are free. They don't even have to pay any taxes. All the money they earn is theirs, and it's usually spent on enjoying the luxuries of life. However, before that ostentatious wealth, few knew that Qatar was once a poor British protectorate. So how did this country go from a nomad to one of such rich nations? Let's explore the history of Qatar in this video. Human habitation of the Qatar Peninsula dates back as far as 50,000 years. At the time, the peninsula was used almost continuously as rangeland for nomadic tribes from Najd and Al-Hassa regions in Saudi Arabia. Qatar was dominated by the Persians for many years and was considered to have a strategic position in controlling the trade routes to India and the Far East. In 1515, it fell under the power of the Portuguese Empire. Qatar's modern history began in 1766 with the migration to the peninsula of families from Kuwait, notably the Khalifa family. Their settlement at the new town of Zubarah, located on Qatar's northern western coast, grew into a small pearl diving and trade center. The Al Khalifa family continued to broaden their ruling over the Qatari Peninsula from Bahrain. In 1867, they launched a naval attack against Qatari rebels, which sparked the Qatari-Bahrain War. The conflict was eventually resolved through a peace treaty mediated by the British, which recognized Qatar's independence from Bahrain and resulted in the Al Thani family coming to power. In 1871, the Ottoman Empire expanded into eastern Arabia. After establishing themselves on the Al-Hassa coast, they advanced towards Qatar. Al-Bida near Dover soon became a base of operations for Bedouins harassing the Ottomans to the south. Abdulatif al-Sabah, the cavalry commander in the Kuwaiti army, was dispatched to the town to secure the Ottoman troops. On 19 July 1871, the British feared Ottoman advances, so they gave the gunboat Hugh Rose to Qatar. To further add to the Ottomans' anxiety, in December 1871, Jassim bin Muhammad Al Thani, the founder of the state of Qatar, authorized the Ottomans to send troops and equipment to Al-Bida. By January 1872, the Ottomans incorporated Qatar into their dominion. Despite the objections of many prominent people in Qatari tribes, Jassim bin Muhammad continued to show his support for the Ottomans. However, there was no improvement in cooperation between the two sides. Their relations deteriorated further when the Ottomans refused to assist Jassim in his Abu Dhabi expedition to capture Char al-Udaid in 1882. In February 1893, Mehmed Hafiz Pasha, the Ottoman governor of the Kosovo Vilayet, arrived in Qatar to seek unpaid taxes and support Jassim bin Muhammad's opposition to proposed Ottoman administrative reforms. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as the Ottoman Empire was undergoing significant political and economic changes, it decided to relinquish its control over Qatar. In 1913, the Ottomans officially renounced sovereignty over Qatar. Abdullah bin Jassim Al Thani, the son of Sheikh Jassim bin Muhammad Al Thani, signed a treaty with Britain, establishing Qatar as one of the trucial states. He worked to improve the country's infrastructure and economy, and sought to strengthen Qatar's international relations and protect its sovereignty. In 1926, the first oil survey in Qatar was conducted by George Martin Lees, a geologist working for the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, later known as BP. Despite Lee's efforts, no oil was found during this survey. It was not until 1939 that oil was finally discovered in Qatar, when the Qatar Petroleum Company, a joint venture between the Anglo-Persian Oil Company and the Qatar government, found oil in the Duqin field on the western coast of the country. This discovery marked the beginning of Qatar's oil industry, and it was followed by several other oil discoveries in the 1940s. Although the production of oil in Qatar was disrupted from 1942 to 1947 due to the impact of World War II, it continued to flourish in the 1950s. Britain played a dominant role in the Gulf region and maintained close relations with Qatar. It provided military assistance and protection to Qatar, and it played a key role in the development of the country's oil industry. In 1971, Qatar gained full sovereignty after the withdrawal of British forces from the Gulf region. The nation declared its independence on September 3, when the leader Ahmad bin Ali made the official announcement when he was in Switzerland. In the same year, Qatar joined the United Arab Emirates as a federation of 7 emirates including Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah, and Qatar. These emirates are independent states that are tied together to form a federal union, with a shared system of governance and a central government that is responsible for certain issues of national importance. However, in 1972, just 1 year after the founding of the UAE, Qatar withdrew from the union. In 1981, Qatar became a member of the Gulf Cooperation Council, a political and economic alliance of 6 countries in the Arabian Peninsula: Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. The Council worked actively in response to the perceived threats posed by the Islamic Revolution in Iran and the outbreak of the Iran-Iraq War. In the early 1980s, Qatar began to rapidly modernize and diversify its economy, particularly through the growth of the Al Shaheen oil field, which significantly increased the country's oil production. Also, the government invested heavily in infrastructure projects and education, and made efforts to diversify the economy by encouraging the development of industries such as tourism and financial services. Since the mid-1990s, Qatar has experienced rapid economic growth in large part thanks to the country's vast natural gas reserves, which have been built through the Qatargas and Qatar Gas EU projects. This has enabled Qatar to become one of the wealthiest countries in the world in terms of per capita income. The government has used its wealth to fund free healthcare and education programs, and to build world-class sports and cultural facilities, such as the Khalifa Stadium and the Museum of Islamic Art. In the early 21st century, Qatar faced a number of challenges, including the global financial crisis of 2008 and the Arab Spring uprisings of 2011. The country, however, has largely been able to weather these challenges and has continued to experience strong economic growth. In 2017, Qatar faced a diplomatic crisis when several of its neighbors, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, cut diplomatic and economic ties with the country. The Saudi-led coalition accused Qatar of supporting terrorism and violating a 2014 agreement, which Qatar claimed no help to Yemen and Egypt. On January 4, 2021, thanks to the mediation of Kuwait and the United States, Qatar and Saudi Arabia agreed to resolve the crisis with the agreement that Saudi Arabia would reopen its border with Qatar and begin the process for reconciliation. Qatar has a rich and diverse history, having played a significant role in the region for thousands of years. Despite facing challenges along the way, Qatar has continued to modernize and remains an important player in the Middle East and beyond, as demonstrated by its hosting of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to give feedback in the comments section below.